If I asked you to tell me the name of the devil before he fell from heaven, you wouldn't hesitate. You would say Lucifer. It is perhaps the most famous name in the history of religion. It conjures up a very specific image. We picture the most beautiful angel in creation, the leader of the heavenly choir, the bearer of light. We picture a tragic figure who let pride corrupt his heart, led a rebellion of 1/3 of the angels against God, and was cast down into the pit of hell to become Satan, the Prince of Darkness. This story is the backbone of Christian mythology. It is the premise of John Milton's Paradise Lost. It is the backstory for Dante's Inferno. It is the central plot point of the hit Netflix show Lucifer and the comic books of Neil Gaiman. It is so deeply embedded in our cultural consciousness that to question it seems absurd. But here is the shocking truth. If you go back to the original Hebrew manuscripts of the Old Testament, the actual words written by the ancient prophets, the name Lucifer is not there, not even once. In fact, the character of Lucifer, the fallen archangel, does not exist in the Bible at all. The entire biography of this character, the name, the angelic rank, the rebellion, the fall is the result of a 1,600-year-old game of telephone. It stems from a single verse in the book of Isaiah, a political taunt aimed at a human king, and a Latin translation error that accidentally turned a descriptive adjective into a proper noun. Today, we're going to dismantle the biggest case of mistaken identity in history. We are going to look at the astronomy of the planet Venus, the translation habits of St. Jerome, and the poetry of John Milton to answer the question, how did a typo become the devil? To understand how this happened, we have to start at the scene of the crime. We need to open the King James Bible to the book of Isaiah, chapter 14, verse 12. This is the only place in the entire Standard English Bible where the name appears. It reads, "How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? How art thou cut down to the ground, which didst weaken the nations?" On the surface, this looks like a slam dunk. It describes someone falling from heaven. It calls him Lucifer. It fits the narrative perfectly. But the first rule of biblical interpretation is context. If you zoom out and read the verses immediately before and after this, the fallen angel theory completely disintegrates. Isaiah 14 is not a theological treatise on the origin of demons. It is a taunt song. It is a satirical poem written to mock a specific political tyrant, the king of Babylon. In verse 4, God explicitly tells Isaiah, "Take up this proverb against the king of Babylon." The prophet is predicting the death of this human king. He describes how the king, who was so arrogant and powerful in life, will die just like any other man. He will be buried in the dirt. The maggots will eat him. The spirits of the dead in Sheol, the underworld, will wake up to mock him, saying, "Have you become weak as we are?" The verse about falling from heaven is not a literal description of an angelic expulsion. It is poetic hyperbole. It is sarcasm. Isaiah is saying to the king of Babylon, "You thought you were a god. You thought you could climb up to the stars and set your throne above the Most High, but look at you now. You are just a corpse rotting in a pit." So, if Isaiah was talking to a human king, where did the name Lucifer come from? This brings us to the linguistic accident that changed the world. The book of Isaiah was originally written in Hebrew. In the Hebrew text, the word used in verse 12 is Helel. Specifically, the phrase is Helel ben Shahar. Helel comes from the root Halel, meaning to shine or to boast. Ben means sun, Shahar means dawn. So, the literal translation of the Hebrew is Shining One, Son of the Dawn. Isaiah was not using a random name. He was referencing ancient astronomy. In the ancient Near East, the Shining One, Son of the Dawn, was the planet Venus. If you watch the sky, Venus is the morning star. It is the brightest object in the sky before the sun rises. It rises early, shining brilliantly, looking like it is going to climb to the very top of the sky. But then, the sun rises, and the morning star is instantly faded out and cast down by the superior light. For the ancients, this astronomical phenomenon was a perfect metaphor for a hubris. The morning star tries to rival the sun, but always fails. Isaiah calls the king of Babylon, hell or Venus, to mock his ambition. He's saying, "You tried to outshine God, but you faded away. So, how did hell become Lucifer?" Fast forward to the 4th century AD. A scholar named Jerome is tasked with translating the Hebrew Bible into Latin for the Catholic Church. This translation became known as the Vulgate. When Jerome got to Isaiah 14:12, he needed a Latin word that captured the meaning of hell or shining one, morning star. In Latin, the word for the planet Venus, the morning star, Lucifer. It is a compound word. Lux means light, fair means to bring, Lucifer literally means light bringer. So, Jerome wrote, Quomodo, cecidisti de Caelor, Lucifer, cui main oribaris. How you have fallen from heaven, light bringer, who rose in the morning. Jerome did not intend to create a proper name. He was just using the standard Latin noun for the morning star. We know this because the word Lucifer appears in other places in the Latin Bible, and it is used in a good way. In the book of Job, the morning stars are called Lucifer. In Peter 1:19, the day star is called Lucifer. Most shockingly, in the Latin liturgy, Jesus Christ himself is referred to as Lucifer. There is an ancient Easter hymn called the Exultet that prays for the Lucifer Christ, who knows no setting. If Lucifer was the proper name of Satan, the early church would have been calling Jesus the devil. They weren't. They understood that it was just a word meaning morning star. The mistake happened centuries later, specifically with the English translations, like the King James Version in 1611. The translators kept the Latin word Lucifer in Isaiah 14, but they made a fatal error. They capitalized it. By turning Lucifer adjective, noun, into Lucifer proper name, they transformed a description of a Babylonian king into a character. Suddenly, readers forgot about the king of Babylon. They saw a name. And since the verse talks about falling from heaven, they connected it to the only other figure known for falling from heaven, Satan. This is where the theology gets messy. We have to ask, if Isaiah wasn't talking about Satan, where did the idea of the fallen angel come from? The concept of a war in heaven and a fallen adversary develops slowly. In the Old Testament, the Satan ha-Satan is not a name. It is a joke title meaning the accuser. He is actually a member of God's divine council. He works for God. In the book of Job, he needs God's permission to act. He isn't a rebel. He's a prosecuting attorney. But during the Second Temple period, between the Old and New Testaments, Jewish writers began to speculate about the origin of evil. They were influenced by Greek myths of titans fighting Olympians. They started telling stories about watchers and rebel angels. When Jesus arrives in the New Testament, he connects these dots. In Luke 10:18, Jesus says, "I saw Satan fall like lightning from heaven." This was the spark. Early Christian theologians, specifically Tertullian and Origen in the 3rd century, looked at Jesus' statement about Satan falling. And then they looked back at Isaiah's poem about the king of Babylon falling, and they decided to merge them. They argued Isaiah might have been talking about the king of Babylon literally, but spiritually, he was talking about the power behind the king of Babylon. They read Isaiah 14 as a double entendre. The Lucifer morning star mentioned in Isaiah became the backstory for the Satan mentioned by Jesus. They took the hubris of the Babylonian king. "I will ascend to heaven. I will raise my throne above the stars of God," and they attributed it to the devil. This was a massive theological leap. Nowhere in the New Testament is Satan ever called Lucifer. Nowhere is he described as a choir director or a being of light. But the story was too good to resist. It explained everything. It explained why the devil is evil pride. It explained where he came from heaven. It gave him a name like bringer that added a tragic, ironic beauty to his character. This narrative was cemented forever by literature. If the Church Fathers built the frame of the Lucifer myth, poets like Dante Alighieri and John Milton put the flesh on the bones. In Dante's Inferno, Lucifer is a frozen, three-headed monster at the center of the earth. But it was John Milton, in his 1667 epic Paradise Lost, who gave us the Lucifer we know today. Milton essentially wrote fan fiction about the book of Genesis. He fleshed out the character of Satan, giving him long soliloquies, a complex personality, and a tragic backstory. Milton's Lucifer is handsome, he's eloquent. He's a freedom fighter who declares, "Better to reign in hell than serve in heaven." This romanticized version of the devil became the standard. When we think of the devil today, we aren't thinking of the biblical Satan, a grim accuser. We are thinking of Milton's Lucifer. This literary character became so popular that he overrode the biblical text. This leads to a fascinating irony known as the Jesus paradox. If we insist that Lucifer refers to Satan because it means morning star, we run into a massive contradiction in the book of Revelation. In the very last chapter of the Bible, Revelation 20-16, Jesus speaks to John. He gives himself a title. He says, "I, Jesus, am the root and the offspring of David, and the bright morning star." The Greek word used there is arthrinos, morning aster star. If we translated Revelation the same way we translated Isaiah, Jesus would be saying, "I am the bright Lucifer." This creates a theological short circuit. Both Jesus and the so-called devil share the same title. This proves, definitively, that morning star is a title of glory and prominence, not a name of evil. In the ancient world, the morning star heralded the coming of the new day. For Isaiah, the king of Babylon was a fake morning star. He promised a new dawn, but brought only tyranny, and was cast down. For Christians, Jesus is the true morning star. He brings the eternal day of God's kingdom. By insisting on calling Satan Lucifer, Christians are actually giving the devil one of Jesus' own titles. They are attributing the beauty of the light bringer to the prince of darkness. So, does Lucifer exist as a literary character? Absolutely. He is one of the most compelling figures in Western literature. He represents the archetype of the rebel, the tragic fall from grace, the beauty that corrupts itself as a pop culture icon. Yes, Tom Ellis plays him charmingly on TV, but as a biblical entity, no. There is no archangel Lucifer in the Bible. There is only a dead king of Babylon who had an ego problem, and a translator named Jerome who liked the word lux. Why does this matter? Is this just semantic nitpicking? I don't think so. I think it reveals something profound about how we construct our beliefs. We tend to think of our religious traditions as solid, unchanging stones handed down from the mountain. But often, they are more like mosaics pieced together over centuries from scraps of translation errors, political poetry, and medieval fan fiction. The story of Lucifer reminds us that we crave a backstory. We aren't satisfied with the mystery of evil. We want to know why. We want to know who. The Bible gives us a vague, shadowy figure called the Satan. He's scary because he has no face and no history. So, we invented Lucifer to give the monster a face. We gave him a name that means light because it makes the darkness easier to understand. We took a typo and built a kingdom of hell upon it. The next time you hear someone talk about Lucifer falling from heaven, remember, you aren't hearing a verse from the Bible. You are hearing the echo of a 2,000-year-old game of telephone. The devil may be real in theology, but his name isn't Lucifer. That name belongs to a planet, a king, and according to the book of Revelation, a carpenter from Nazareth. The reality of the biblical text is often stranger and more complex than the myths we built to replace it. Perhaps the true lesson of Isaiah 14 isn't about angels at all. It is a warning to human leaders. It is a reminder that no matter how bright you shine, no matter how high you build your throne, gravity always wins. The morning stars of this world always fall. But the myth of Lucifer persists because it is the ultimate tragedy. It is the story of potential wasted. And that is a story that resonates with us, regardless of whether it's in the Bible or not. So, Lucifer may not exist in the Hebrew text, but he certainly exists in the human heart. And perhaps that is the only place where he ever truly reigned. Thanks for watching.